In economics, we often reference the perfectly competitive model. Now, the reason we reference the perfectly competitive model so much is it is usually the foundation for other economic models, for almost all other economic models. What we generally do is we start with a perfectly competitive model, and if we have to make assumptions that are outside of the perfectly competitive model, we adjust that model to create a new one. So let's talk about what actually makes a perfectly competitive environment. So there's four main conditions that need to be met. The first one is atomistic, and that means that the economic units, both the buyers and the sellers, all economic units within this model are so small relative to the total market that actions by a firm will not affect the market. What that means is if you're a producer and you decide to produce twice the amount you normally produce, your one action will not affect the market in a significant way, or really all that much at all. Or if you're a buyer and you decide to buy twice as much as what you normally do, that one action will not drastically affect the market. Will have a relatively small effect on that market, if any effect at all. Meaning that no one buyer has enough power to dictate price, and no one seller has enough power to dictate price. And what we see is because everybody's atomistic, that everybody's actions, nobody's one action will affect the market, and nobody's one action can ever dictate or affect the price. And what we wind up happening is everybody becomes a price taker under this atomistic. Because they are so small, they can't really affect the market, meaning they must take the market price. The second condition is homogeneous products. So, we cannot distinguish goods from one firm to another. Whenever we have homogeneous products, we're saying that all of the products are so similar, or they are identical, and so similar, so alike, that we cannot tell one from another. Whenever we have homogeneous products, we cannot tell the products that come off of, say, farm A as being different from the products that come off of farm B. Such as corn. You cannot tell the difference between one type of corn that comes off of farm A and one type of corn that comes off of farm B. We have these commodities that are homogeneous products that are so close to being the same that you really can't distinguish them from another product. The next condition is that resources must be able to move in and out. There are no barriers to entry or exit, meaning resources are free to move in and free to move out. Meaning that a firm can start up in this industry, in this perfectly competitive model, with relatively no barriers to entry. There's really nothing stopping a firm from entering into this market, and there's nothing stopping a firm from leaving that market at any given point in time. There's no regulations, and there's really no barriers to entry under this perfectly competitive model. And then the last one is that there's complete information. All of the buyers and all the sellers understand the market completely, in the sense that they have complete information. They know what the market price is, they know what the volume of sales are, and they know all of the surrounding information of this market, both the buyers and the sellers. Nobody has the upper hand by knowing something that the other side doesn't. Both the buyers and the sellers and everybody in this perfectly competitive market has this complete information. And I did mention this earlier, but I want to emphasize it again, is that all members in the perfectly competitive market are price takers. They are this atomistic element where they are so small that they can't affect the market, so therefore they cannot affect the price of the market. Cannot affect the market and cannot affect the price. They wind up just facing this take it or leave it price. If the price suits them, then they'll take it. But if the price doesn't suit them, they must leave that price. And what we find is people in the perfectly competitive market, nobody in the perfectly competitive market is a price maker. Nobody can actually set their prices. So let's look at it from a farmer's example. A farmer takes his crops to the grain elevator. The grain elevator says, I will pay you so much per bushel, or so much per pound, or so much per economic unit, and then the farmer has to make a decision. They can either take that market price or they can leave it. And that's really all the decision that the farmer has. The farmer can't decide to raise the prices because he winds up having to take the market price because he's not big enough to affect the market.